That night, sitting in a cramped roadside motel room, I felt something shift inside me. The space was barely large enough for two people, and yet it felt suffocatingly full of unspoken thoughts, unresolved tension, and emotions I had tried for months to ignore. The only other person in the room was my stepson, Gary. Life doesn't unravel slowly when it wants to change you. Sometimes it snaps. Logan had been away for months working in another city. I missed him. Of course I did. But what gnawed at me wasn't just distance. It was the silence, the indifference, the slow erosion of connection. The evenings alone had carved out something hollow inside me, something I hadn't known how to name. When I'd asked Gary to drive me to visit his father, I hadn't imagined we'd end up stranded halfway there, sharing a single motel bed because of a broken, down car. But that's exactly what happened. The morning had begun like any other, though tension clung to me as I left the house. I remember catching my reflection in the mirror, composed on the outside, unsettled underneath. Logan's absence had left me feeling invisible. Yet, there was still a part of me that felt alive and restless. Gary was finishing breakfast when I asked him to drive me. He teased me about convincing his father to upgrade his car. I brushed it off, pretending not to notice how easy it was to laugh with him. 2 hours into the drive, the car gave out. A sharp hiss, a violent shudder, then silence. We argued, called mechanics, tried everything. Nothing worked. By evening, we had no choice but to check into a cheap roadside motel. When we opened the door to the room and saw there was only one bed, I felt irritation rise and something else I didn't want to identify. The room was small, dim light, stale air. "This is it," I muttered. Gary laughed. "It's one night we'll survive." His ease both annoyed and unsettled me. I showered first, letting the water run over me as I tried to steady my thoughts. I reminded myself of facts. I'm 47, he's 22. This is temporary, but awareness doesn't always listen to reason. When I returned from dinner later that evening, he was asleep, robe loosely tied, hair still damp from his own shower. I paused by the door longer than I should have. It wasn't desire alone. It was confusion, loneliness, the human need to feel wanted. I told myself to get control of my thoughts. It's just proximity, just circumstance. I lay down on the edge of the bed, careful to keep distance, but distance feels smaller in tight rooms. Sometime during the night, I sensed movement. I kept my eyes closed at first. The air between us felt charged, not dramatic, not explosive, just aware. When our eyes finally met, the silence spoke first. There are moments in life when you realize you're standing at a boundary. You can step back or you can step forward and accept that things will never be the same. We didn't rush. We didn't speak recklessly. What passed between us wasn't loud. It was quiet and deliberate. Two adults acknowledging something complicated, something neither of us had planned. It wasn't just attraction. It was the vulnerability of two people who had been orbiting the same loneliness for months. When he leaned closer, I didn't resist. And when I responded, I understood that this wasn't about rebellion or recklessness. It was about feeling seen. The night blurred into warmth and closeness, and the kind of intensity that comes when emotions finally surface after being suppressed too long. No grand declarations, no promises about tomorrow, just a moment suspended outside of consequences. Afterward, exhaustion settled over me like gravity. I stared at the ceiling, fully aware that the world we would wake up to would be different from the one we'd fallen asleep in. Gary lay beside me in silence. No arrogance, no triumph, just thoughtfulness. "I'll never forget this place," he said quietly. Neither would I. Morning arrived too quickly. The car was repaired. The world had resumed its normal rhythm. We packed our things with careful neutrality, as though routine could erase what had happened. But routine can't rewrite memory. On the drive to pick up Logan, a strange mix of emotions moved through me. Confusion, guilt, exhilaration, sadness. I didn't know what this meant for the future. I only knew one thing. The breakdown hadn't just been mechanical, it had exposed cracks that were already there. And whether this moment would become a mistake, a secret, or a turning point, I couldn't yet say. But life had shifted, and there was no pretending otherwise.